Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Thai visas, and we're discussing the costs associated with getting a Thai visa. Now, in the relatively recent past, since the time I've been in Thailand, and I've been here some 13 years now, there was a time where getting in and out of Thailand was a fairly straightforward and, quite frankly, for lack of a better term, a rather cheap endeavor. It was not a very costly process. So compared to, say, the United States, which getting into the USA in any kind of visa status can be rather difficult. It can, and even a tourist visa can take some time and resources to get the visa issued, if they issue it at all. And in many cases, they deny tourist visa applications. But Thailand was always pretty straightforward, and it was usually pretty inexpensive. That has changed substantially during this COVID restriction period we're going through, and I think it is probably prudent to presume we are going to see some of this expense continue past some sort of easing, substantial easing, that I think is probably likely to come in the relatively near future. So most notably, the overall process has currently changed. Now, it may revert back to the way it was pre-COVID, the sort of status quo ante-COVID, as soon as things like the emergency decree are lifted and we no longer are dealing with this sort of different regime that's presumably been brought in temporarily. But certain aspects of this process, it's an expensive proposition currently. To get into Thailand, the steps one has to take to even be able to board a plane bound for Thailand, it's a much more daunting endeavor than it once was. You've got documentation now added to the process, like a certificate of entry, fit to fly documentation, and on top of it, and this is where a lot of the expense is being tacked on, you have to go ahead and book alternative state quarantine facilities, ASQ facilities, as we're calling it, and you need to do that before you can even get on a plane. You need to have alternative state quarantine facilities locked in. So the thing to take away from this video, yes, immigration to Thailand has become substantially more expensive than it was even back in February. And I suspect at least some of this expense may, especially COVID testing, I think we're probably going to see that being one of the prerequisites to coming in, at least for a while, possibly in the next year. I could see that being the case. And just that alone is a substantially increased expense on getting a visa to Thailand and getting admitted to Thailand than the process was some 6 months ago.